Welcome to the QB Chronicles, an SMU Football Podcast with Garrett, Gilbert, and Kyle Padron. Join former SMU quarterbacks Garrett and Kyle as they break down each week's game, offering insights from their own experiences on the field. In addition to game analysis, we'll also bring you special episodes featuring interviews with past and present SMU players, sharing their stories and perspectives. Whether you're a diehard Mustang fan or just love football, this podcast is your go-to source for all things SMU football. Pony up!
Welcome back to the QB Chronicles, joined by 2019 Alliance of American Football MVP quarterback Garrett Gilbert. We have a special guest this week, SMU faithful, you'll know the name well, Zach Line, running back from 2009 to 2012, second leading rusher in SMU history, played for the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints in the NFL from 2013 to 2019, and joined by Zach now, and excited to have Zach join the QB Chronicles and a little bit of adjacent, but a little bit of some RB Chronicles, if you will.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We're happy to have you, man. Kyle, you're going to run out of.
It's deep, man. I'm doing some research. Got the dark web going. It's exposed.
Yeah, then this is going to be short-lived. Zach, we'll jump right into it, man. Tell us just kind of a little bit about your football journey growing up and ultimately what led you to SMU.
Well, I think you can see with the jersey on my wall, I grew up a diehard hockey player. So from 4 years old till really I moved to Oxford in fifth grade, I played hockey, right? So you kind of just join what your buddies are doing. They're all playing football and they were wrestling. So that was the route I jumped into and fell in love with the game of football. Was probably my junior year of high school where coaches started coming around, and that's when you get the feel for maybe I can do this longer. Never looked ahead. I never thought football would be a journey or a pathway. It was just kind of going through, having fun. And from my experience now coaching, those kids that get those offers are the kids that just enjoy the game and play it the right way. So fortunately enough, I had a dad of one of my teammates who knew June Jones from back when he was with the Lions, send my film out to Hawaii, and pretty much the next day I had an offer from the Rainbow Warriors. From there, about a week later, Bert Hill calls me from SMU, which I had never heard of, and extended an offer from SMU and said, come see us. If you like us still, you have an offer. So came down. It was, I think, January. So it's cold up in Michigan, and it's not too bad in Dallas. And I was sold getting off the plane.
Love it. Was Bert Hill, was he at SMU prior to, I didn't even know this, was he at SMU prior to June coming over?
I don't think so. I think they all linked up.
This was just
Love it.
right when they all left Hawaii and came to
That's great.
Dallas.
And you were actually class of 2008. You're a year ahead of Garrett and I, correct? And you had
I gray-shirted for a season.
Yeah.
So me and Banjo were on our visit together, Chris Banjo, and believe it or not, he was probably one of the most quiet people I've ever been around. Didn't say a word the whole trip.
Two things there. One, very surprising, as they both just said, and two, hopefully a little foreshadowing, get Banjo on to talk about that and how he's found a way somehow to come out of his shell as he's gotten a little older.
I'd like to hear that too. We sat in a taxi ride for, whatever DFW to SMU is, 30 minutes, and then the whole trip, you got Taylor Thompson getting driven around in a golf cart, and we're all walking. So
he's probably carrying a golf cart.
Yeah. So, but Banjo didn't say a word. So when I came back from Grayshirting in the spring it was me and Robert Parker, I think that was probably it. I came in at that time, and Banjo was the loudest person ever at that point. So.
Yeah. Can you explain what the gray shirt means and maybe the process of why you gray shirted and when you came in and enrolled in 2009?
Yeah, it was definitely one I hadn't heard of before. But when I came down for the visit, June said, hey, we're going to gray shirt you, which basically means I want you to come in with the next class. So I think he saw he had a lot of work to do on the roster he wanted. And that way, a couple of us got to come in with 2 recruiting classes in the spring, which was cool. I had a lighter course load my senior year because I got a lot done that spring. So I think my senior year, I cut down like 6 credits by the time we were actually playing football. So I was able to focus on just playing ball. But yeah, I went home, didn't come back to school until January. I took a couple community school classes here in Michigan and worked out. Got really big because I thought I was going to play linebacker. I think on my visit I was 230, and then by the time I got down to SMU, I was 245. You know, I'm picturing Big Ten linebackers like I need to be a run stopper, not realizing that our division was like spread offense. So you need to be fast and mobile. So I was anti-mobile. So I spent the next year with Coach Swan. They moved me to running back the first day of spring ball, and cut down the next year to, I think I was 219 for my sophomore season.
Quite the journey. Now, obviously, you played running back in high school, so you were playing both sides of the ball, correct? And then you mentioned, you know, we just talked about this, but you know, the gray shirt process. You know, was there, you know, obviously you had a ton of success at SMU, but it was sort of a slow build because you went through that gray shirt process. Was there any part of you that was frustrated coming out of high school, being from, you know, up in Michigan, not getting offers to big schools, or, you know, was that kind of just, you know, like you said, you were a hockey guy growing up and then you fell in love with football and it was kind of wherever you got the chance?
Yeah, I think there was a little frustration with my dream was always play for Michigan State. You know, that was my dad's team growing up. He didn't play football, but he was a Sparty, and growing up, I knew the fight song. We watched the Spartans on Saturdays, and I didn't watch the Lions. I was a Spartan, and I watched the Red Wings. So those are the two things. So TJ Duckett back in the day, those are my guys. But yeah, I have Michigan State here at the school like every week. You have Central Michigan every day. You're going up to Central on the weekends. You're going to Michigan State on the weekends, and you think everything's hunky dory. And by the end of it, it's like, hey, we'll give you a preferred walk on. And I knew kind of where I was at, and I thought I was playing football at a pretty high level, especially at linebacker. And some of the guys they were offering, I was thankful that another school came in like June with, no holds bar. Hey, we want you here. And so what I've learned is you go where they want you, right? So even in the NFL, if you've got a couple offers on the table in free agency, you got to go with who wants you the most and not where the money's at sometimes.
Yeah. You talked about going where you want. You went to SMU, obviously. Can you talk about once you stepped foot on campus, what was your experience? Obviously, we were able to win some games and be a part of some special things, but off of the field, what was your experience like at SMU, and maybe what has SMU done for you post athletic career and post grad?
I mean, what a beautiful campus, right? It's just everything about it. It was definitely a culture shock for me. I'm from smaller town, and you're moving to SMU, which is a booming city, just outside of Dallas. A lot of money there on campus, and then I think just the city life was different than what I was used to. But SMU, the athletic side of it to me was everything I could have hoped for. You have everything in house. You have your weight room in the basement, your lunchroom, so as an athlete, everything is built for you to have success. And I thought our staff was awesome. I think the team we had really made the experience worth it, because I think we were all a little bit of maybe got put aside by bigger schools, and we all kind of fell into SMU. And now you look at that class that we had for those 4 or 5 years, and we have a ton of dudes that went pro, right? And that are still playing, some of them. So it's a pretty impressive group we had there. I think at first my experience, I think June and a lot of those guys were just getting back used to, maybe not June, but a lot of those guys were getting used to college football again. And so there was that portion of, hey, here's your schedule. And I remember the first day, me and Robert Parker were sitting there like, what are we supposed to be doing right now? And then, we get a call like, hey, why aren't you at study hall or study table? And we're like, oh, we don't even know where we're living right now. We're just here. We're just in this room. So we went to study hall, and it first started out, it was just in that basement, right? But you couldn't have laptops. You couldn't have any of that stuff. So half of us were just doing Sudoku. So I got good at that. But that I mean, from year one being there, June took it to a pretty proficient system where you had tutors, you had, all the things you would want to have as a student athlete. You had your class checks, all that. So it's one of those things you got to go with the flow and kind of figure out how to be a grown up. And, moving from Michigan to Dallas, you have to do it pretty quickly, or at least have friends that help guide you along the right path, because you're kind of on your own. But what has SMU done for me? I always look back at all the teachers. I still talk to some of them that were, especially the APSM teachers. Like, what a great group of people there. I know Miss Sifford's out at Arizona. I talked to her the other day because she's got one of our Oxford guys playing basketball there now. I think about the staff. Swan was amazing coach. Just details and just really growing into a man with him, and the ins and outs of football and how you can make it. And you see guys come in that don't do the things that coaches want, and how quickly they get weeded out. And this is just college, so it gives you a pretty good portrayal of what you need to do once you get to that next level, which I was fortunate to do. And how quickly you can get weeded out if you're not going to find a way to grow up and fit what they're looking for.
Well, and like you said, I mean, you get down, a lot of guys are, SMU wasn't recruiting guys from just the state of Texas that are just coming, going right down the road. You're coming down from Michigan. You better figure it out real quick, or you're going to find yourself in some trouble. And I think, like you touched on, that's really good stuff, especially early in June's, time at SMU. I felt like, it was guys that, had slipped through the cracks, maybe really good players that had slipped through the cracks, and then you guys got it rolling. Especially the the latter part of your career, which I think leads us into, talk to us a little bit about, a couple of favorite memories from your time on the field, as far as, games that were memorable, just the accolades are numerous, as far as, what you did on the field, touchdowns, 1,000-yard seasons, 3 in a row to finish it off, I think. And then, but, just hit the high points as far as, what was for you the most, some of the more memorable games during your time in Dallas.
I think obviously the number one is when we beat TCU at their house. That's that's one of those ones. I don't remember what they were ranked, but we went in and the city's buzzing every time, no matter what, you're playing TCU, right? So you go in, you beat them. I don't think I did anything special on the ground that game, but I always wanted to play special teams no matter what. Like, I want to be on kickoff. I don't care. Who cares about running the ball? So run down. I don't know if it was opening kickoff.
Mark of a true defensive
player.
player.
Person you are.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that later. Run down on kickoff, and you strip the ball and your team recovers it for a touchdown, and those are just big plays that go into winning games like that, especially against TCU. There's other games in my career that were that stand out because they kind of left a footprint on who I've become as a person. I remember we're playing Marshall. It's like 95 degrees. It was hot, and for some reason, and this never happens with June, he just decided we're just going to run the ball all the way down the field, right? It always got to the point where, like, hey, we get a 10-yard run. He's like, hey, I'm going to pass the ball. I know you guys are biased, right? I get it.
Hey, but Tampa was one of my favorite calls.
Tampa right.
I love Tampa. Yeah.
Tampa left. Tampa right. Tampa left. Let's throw a draw in there every once in a while.
Draw. So we were running all the way down the field, and it was not anything great. It was like 6 a pop. 4, 6, 4. So it wasn't anything where you're breaking a 20-yarder, and 20 was really much. That was a long run for me. I'm not the fastest guy, so the breakaway speed wasn't quite there. But I looked over. We got to about the 40-yard line. It was the first time ever where I was like, maybe I need to tap my helmet. I might need one here because I'm hot. I'm tired. And the next play, I did pop one. It was like a 40-yard touchdown. And I always think about those moments of like, just got to keep going, right? Because you never know when that play is going to happen where you're just about to tap out, and then there came that big touchdown play that your team needed. And so though that game stood out in my mind is one of those ones where it changed how you think about things. And then now as a coach, I tell that story of you never know what's going to happen the next play, right? So as tired as you are, there's always another gear. TCU's up there. 4 straight bowl games. That's so fun. You go out to Hawaii, and June was awesome at bowl games. I felt like giving us a lot of freedom, treating us like men. And you see Nevada, they're on lockdown, and half those guys get in trouble anyway. So then we go out and we torch them. Kyle, you torched them, and it's a lot of fun, right? So, but then you go to 4 straight, it just became the expectation at SMU. So when they did lose, I leave. Quick story: high school, our coach is like a 35-year winning tradition, right? He's never had a losing season for 35 or 40 years, whatever it is. And so then I leave, and Prescott's regime begins, and they had their first losing season. I'm like, you kidding me? So then, we come through.
That was my senior year. Thank you very much. But
so I haven't got there yet. So we come through, and we have 4 straight bowl games, and we leave, and Prescott now begins, and the Mustangs start to fall a little bit. I'm like, Press, are you the Drake? Like, what's going on here? So then he senior, whatever, grad transfers, goes to Michigan State for a season. He has a great season, second team All Big Ten. But Michigan State wins like 3 games, right? And they're just coming off a season where they won 12, 13 games. So throughout his entire career, he was that dude. But it's just, we always talk about
guy. That. That's tough at family get-togethers for him, isn't it?
You got to bring it up.
It's a big shadow you cast there, Zach.
Yeah. Well, then we'll go take that further. So then I go on and play. I'm with the Vikings. So then I think I became the Drake because Blair Walsh misses a field goal from 27. We're playing Seattle first round. Then we go to I get picked up by the Saints. We go to Minneapolis in the playoff game. Minneapolis Miracle happens.
Yep.
Then the next year we're playing the Rams and we have the no call. So I feel like maybe I'm the Drake now. So
was Prescott at those games?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question.
It's not you. Can't be you.
Question.
We still got to find a way to blame.
Yeah,
poor
let's
Prescott.
get somebody loop Prescott in here. So send him the link.
I'll have Mackenzie do some history on that one.
Yeah,
we'll find a way.
No, one of my favorite memories of you, Zach, was you may have been subbed out. I don't know who came in, but it was the UAB game, our second year.
A concussion.
2010, and it's 1,000,000 degrees, humid. I'm in my second pair of cleats, third pair of socks, just like drenched, gas, running back and forth to the sideline. I know Gigi and I have talked about this before, but I'm running over there. I'm hands on my knees getting the play call from June as Manila folder, and you're standing behind June and giving me the circle game behind June while I'm gassed and trying to get the play. And I start dying laughing.
What's the score at this point? Is the game
winning
close?
Possessions probably.
I don't think it was in hand.
Yeah, we were winning, and yeah, I start laughing, and June just loses it. He's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm just like, "It's Zach," but I can't get Zach in trouble. But he's back there playing, the circle game in the back, and comes and punches me after I get off the sideline. But
you got to keep it lighthearted.
Yeah, exactly. But you were
100%.
You were always and I'm sure this carried on in the NFL. I wasn't around you then, but always appreciated the way you played the game, the mentality you played it with, which you talked about for a moment there. And then the way you led, you were always, one of the first guys in the building, last to leave, always, putting in extra work in the weight room, pushing everybody. And that's a testament to the success you had while at SMU, but also, into your NFL career as well. And to play, I think it was 8 years or 7 or 8 years. Correct me. Which one was it?
7.
7. Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible career, especially at your position you played. And, beating your head against a brick wall every single week in the NFL.
And you get to be on every special teams unit. So
always appreciate the way you played. Always a great teammate. Tell us what you're doing now. You're wearing the Oxford shirt, the hat. First, show us where on the mitt that Oxford is, and then talk about what you're doing right now.
Well, first off, Kyle, I appreciate that, man. I had a lot of great teammates, you and Garrett being 2 of them. It's just a blast, right? You get to play a game with your buddies at a high level, and you get to be on TV. When we first started, it was like some dark website that we were playing on. But as we were going, I think my dad had a subscription. He's like, it works sometimes, it doesn't some of the other times. But as we went on, we built a pretty good resume for ourselves there, and did some special things at SMU. Obviously, we had some pretty special coaches. You look down the line at June, Frank Gans, Coach Swan, and all those guys that came through, and Bert Hill. So, it was everything I could have imagined and more for a college experience. And, I had good parents. I had good coaching. I had a lot of good impacts on my life that, led me to be that person. That was just me having fun. And, so with that said, I'm from Michigan and I live right about there. Right. So there's Oxford, Michigan.
I'll pretend I know where that's at.
It's up there. So we moved back here in 2016. So I was still playing for the Saints. We bought this house here. We wanted our kids to go through. A lot of the same teachers I had are still here. I just love the community, small town vibe, awesome football, sports programs. And then my last year playing, our head coach for a long time was stepping down, and Mackenzie's like, well, why don't you go for the job? And I wasn't really thinking about doing that. I always planned on going to high school football later in life, hoping to catch on with an NFL team for a little bit and have some fun, still doing those types of things. But I just felt like you couldn't let the brand of what you knew your hometown of being leave. So went out for the job, ended up getting it. And we used to run strictly power, right? If you played Oxford, you were going to get 26 power and you were going to get power pass. There was nothing more to our playbook other than we're going to be tougher than you. And that was it. So now we run wide zone. We run, we're basically Sean Payton offense out here. That's what I ended up falling in love with, because you can run it with big bodies. You can run it with small bodies. You're going to make big teams go lateral for a long time. And so that's what we do. But I have a really good coaching staff. My philosophy coming in here was get good people. You can teach anybody football. And so that's what we've done. We have some awesome coaches that have helped us build a program. And our JV freshman teams are double in size since, we got here. And you just want kids to love the game, and you got to get them to the varsity level. So you can't burn them out. So trying to do things to just keep football fun, make sure the dads know it's not as serious as it actually is. And
that's probably the
toughest part.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So back in Michigan, this is my 5th year coaching. My first year taking over, we had COVID. So in the weight room trying to figure out names, and I'm hearing Corona and all this other stuff. And boom, school gets canceled for the year. And we get to summer. We get about a weekend of summer, and they cancel the season. And then 2 weeks later, they bring it back. They cancel again. And then the week before our first game, they brought football back. So our scheme was pretty limited. We didn't look great that year, but we grinded through. My second year, we went to the second round of playoffs, had an amazing team. And then that following year, we had a school shooting. And since then, we've had more coaches and teachers move into the district that are here to help. Our kids are tough. They're resilient. And I feel like this is the first year we're back on a solid footing to, do some special things and win football games. And now that can be important again, So, but yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I know I was here for a reason, right? You can always say like, but the more you just remember that it's not happening to you, you're here for a reason. And got a lot of kids that needed me here.
Man, that's I think, and I think all of us can kind of speak to this. The game of football has been obviously really special to all of us and everyone that it touches in different ways. But you've touched on this a lot already tonight, and just your time, how SMU has affected you and how the game of football has affected you. And so to hear about what you're doing now and giving it back, because I think, again, this game teaches us so much about life in general and how to keep on going. That's really cool. That's awesome. And I'm gonna need an Oxford hat, and we'll be cheering you on from down here in Texas for sure.
Yeah, make that too. I'll take a shirt as well. Yeah. And is there a link or anything for those interests? Is there any link that we could potentially watch games on Fridays? I know it's kind of a weird thing. Some high schools are on TV here, and you can get links and stuff. I don't know if y'all stream games at all, but maybe people want to tune in.
NFHS. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I gotta log in to watch my father-in-law's game. So perfect.
Same website.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So we'll be checking the Oxford
it's
games.
Big one this week. We got a crosstown rival, Lake Orion. So Dragons are going down.
Love it.
All right, I love it, man. Well, Zach, we first of all, we appreciate you being on. Got a couple more questions for you, but thanks so much for coming and spending some time with us. We want to real quick dive into the upcoming battle for the Iron Skillet. and obviously SMU sitting at 2-1, going, have TCU coming to town, and want to get your thoughts on that, as well as kind of your thoughts on this transition and movement into the ACC and what you think that means for the program in general.
I mean, you can't beat TCU week, right? Yeah, especially when you get them at home in a rivalry game. It doesn't matter what you're ranked, doesn't matter what you're seeded. The kids got to buy into the fact that it is a rivalry week, and we don't like TCU, right? So you practice just a little bit harder. You do the things right during the week, and then man, there should be no nerves on game days. You just let it fly. Yeah, I don't know. I always got chills leading up to TCU week, and I know that was always when I had to spend the most money for people coming in to watch a game. They wanted to watch the TCU game,
Yep.
So if I got my tickets in on time, so that's always an issue. But yeah, what a fun week, and I'm sure Dallas will be buzzing this week. What was your second question?
Just talking about the program moving into the ACC and kind of what it means. I mean, obviously, you spoke on, and I think I was thinking about this when you said it, but just where the facility was at, where the program was at when you got there. Fast forward, 3-4 years to your senior year, what everything looked like. You talked about the tutors and just the academic support and the support in general that we got. Well, Kyle and I have talked a lot about this, but you got to come down and see what everything looks like now, the new end zone complex, everything that the football program has. Obviously, with NIL and the transfer portal, that's college football now. I mean, you kind of have to do it, so you have to buy in. But what all that means, as an SMU alumni, and I think the school means a lot to you, like it does to us. What it means for them to get back into a big time conference and be able to play big time games.
Yeah, it is frustrating that I haven't had the opportunity to come down there, right? Because it's either been playing football or coaching football, and I get the Bryce Lundys, the Billy Dougals, the Joey Fontanas of the world always trying to make a boys trip out of it. I have to make that happen, right? Because I see the pictures of the indoor facility and how amazing that looks. I got buddies that go out there when they're in Dallas and they train. Adam Thielen, I know, is there during the summers. And then, when I was there, I remember my dad said the sign of a good school is that they're constantly breaking ground. And I don't think they stopped building things the whole time I was there, whether it be tennis complexes going up or a new natatorium or whatever, right? And the library was going in while we were there. So since then, there's been, obviously the end zone looks amazing. So got to get down there. And I think the move to the ACC was just the piece that was missing for SMU to take another step, because with the transfer portal, what a great location of Dallas for kids to come, right? So if you went to Alabama, this just opened up. It's not really SMU. They did a great job of rebranding as Dallas, because you're getting to go to a bustling city with great boosters, with great academics. Like, you can't beat the combination of what SMU has to offer. And now they're in a Power 5 conference. So that was a piece that was missing that TCU was beating you on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, cut it off right there. That's perfect. We totally agree. I think that's what Kyle and I have talked a lot about, is just that, that it just means a lot for the school and for the football program going forward, being able to have this, this new facility because that's, that's how you win in recruiting.
We got to get you and Kinsey down during a bye week, and maybe not this year, but hopefully in the years to come, see if we can get a bye week trip out of it.
Yes. We don't have buys. We have 9 weeks. So hopefully I'm not there, because that means we're winning the state championship. But if I'm not still playing football, I need to get down there. So
yeah. We hope we don't get to see you this year, but maybe next year, man. Real quick, give us a prediction for the game.
I got SMU 34, TCU 27.
Love that. I think that's a great prediction. And for the gamblers out there, I don't know how many we have, but that's a pretty solid prediction based on we got TCU as a 2.5-point favorite. Don't know about that.
Jack's calling money line. I like it.
I have no insider information, but my gut.
Oh, well, this is certainly not
No.
gambling advice. You can just go back and listen to last week's predictions to get a feel for that.
Good. Wasn't good.
No.
We've had some good ones, but Georgia almost lost to Kentucky yesterday, and I said 2 weeks ago they were the best team hands down in the country. So I'm just not going to talk about anybody other than SMU going forward, which I don't even know if we should be doing that. But quickly, got TCU coming up. I know we touched on it a little bit. I do have a question as it pertains. Garrett and I have talked at length really the last few weeks about quarterback situation. Not sure how involved or how attentive you've been to what's going on down here, but Preston Stone and Kevin were rotating for a few weeks. Lashley names Kevin Jennings a starter going forward. My question for you is, as a player on the team, seeing that process between your two teammates, kind of the juggling back and forth, does that affect running back, offensive side of the ball, teammates just in the locker room? What's kind of that like, the perspective of seeing two guys you love and care for competing for one spot, and maybe what that could do to a locker room? And now that there is, some sort of stability after a few weeks of really juggling these guys back and forth, can you shed some light on what maybe the perspective is from somebody that wasn't in the quarterback room and, fighting for that one spot?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every year I was at SMU, I had a different quarterback, right? So there was never a lot of real stability as far as who was going to be the quarterback every year. But you just want a guy that's going to lead. So what I see is that they're both captains. So even though day one starter is who he is, the other guy was a captain. So that tells you a lot about both those guys' character and personality. So as long as those two can handle it the right way, that no matter what, we're gonna compete, because that's what you want. And whoever wins the job, they're going to be fully supportive of the other person. Then it doesn't matter. The locker room's fine. They want to go out and win games, right? So, do you love both guys? Yeah, for sure. They're your teammates, but you want to win football games. So, obviously, they're both great leaders if they're both captains, and so hopefully, big week against TCU.
Absolutely. Real quick follow-up. I want to stay on the same topic there. But you played in New Orleans. Obviously, you were with Taysom Hill for 2 years, and certainly not in the same vein, because it was never a challenge to Drew Brees being the guy. But was there any sort of challenge logistically with the cadence, anything like that, when Taysom came into the game for his snaps at quarterback, whether it, just 5 to 10 times a game? Was that challenging at all for the offense? And do you think that, again, I don't think that this is creating problems necessarily, but do you think that now having a guy going forward will help everyone just be on the same page a little bit in a little bit smoother fashion? Or is that just something that you guys don't even think about?
No, I think it is nice to have one guy. You want him to get in the groove. It's just like a running back. Your eyes start getting trained to how the defense is moving so you can make your cuts. If you're only getting in every, you're juggling back and forth, those guys can't get in the groove, so it's not helping anybody. But there is, like with Taysom, it wasn't a matter of, hey, do your cadence like this or like that. It was, you need to match Drew. So they would spend time rehearsing cadences together. I'm sure you both have done this, but you can't have one guy in and Blue 80 and then the Blue 80 set hut is so vastly different that you have half the team jumping. So there were some hurdles a little bit there. Taysom very well spoken, so he's good in the huddle. Obviously, Drew is elite in the huddle. I feel like he makes eye contact with all 11 players at once, or 10 players at once. He's making a call, and he's looking at the guy that might not be a part of the play, but he has an impact on the play to where he's making sure he hears it. Obviously, Drew is elite. And you talk about leaders. If any one of these quarterbacks were looking for some advice, they need to watch how Drew leads, because he's just a servant leader. He is programmed almost to a T. If you look over, he'll be going to the training room at the same time, on the field at the same time, just the routine that he had. And you could say he loved the game, but he was devoted to the game. And so as a teammate, you want to make sure you did everything in your power not to let him down. So there's a different type of work that went in. Like, I don't want to let Drew down. And so you work harder, and that's the kind of leaders you want. That's the kind of leaders you try to build as a coach. Is how do you become so devoted as a player that people around you start to raise their level? And that's not easy to create, because some people just don't, because sometimes they're unpopular and it's a lot of work. So it's hard to become that type of person. I went way off track there, but I felt like you said Drew and I had to say it.
No, that's great. I think that needs to be foreshadowing for your next time on the show, because we're going to have you back just to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll say if you just want to bring Drew along with you, that'd be great. We'd appreciate it.
Don't count Drew out. He'll probably make it on. He'll kick me out. Though.
Awesome,
like, hey, Zach, there's 2 quarterbacks in here, and now me. What are you here for? Let's get out. So.
Well, man, Garrett mentioned earlier, we're grateful, one, to have played with you, to be your friend. Thank you for your time. And we're big Oxford fans now. Can't wait to get our gear and rep it. But look forward to talking to you again. Good luck the rest of the season. We'll be watching. And thank you for your time, and go Ponies.
Let's go. Thank you, guys. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Zach.